Hi everybody, coming to you from Australia Wednesday night. Now, I don't normally do readings at night, so the lighting is probably worse than normal. So that's just how it is. Okay, so we need to update on everything because it's all moving so quickly. But before the story gets lost about the Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier and the nearly 5,000 Navy personnel on board and the sacking of the captain, I want to have a quick look at that because the repercussions have come thick and fast. I think the acting secretary, because the Yeti only has acting people in more ways than one, they really are from central casting, not the real world. He's already resigned over his appalling response. Right, but I think there could be more to this story. Apparently now I think they've got 3,000 of them off in Guam in isolation, and there's going to be another nearly 2,000 off in the next day or so. So I want to have a quick look at that, and then I want to look at the virus deniers, as I'm calling them. A little look in on Rick DeSantis. And how the virus denying base is coping with these daily briefings. Interesting, I think the polls are finally starting to move. 56% of Americans are not happy with what he is saying in these briefings. It should be 99.5%, but look, at least it's climbing. So first of all, I want to have a look at the Theodore Roosevelt incident. There are going to be further repercussions. It's just disgusting treatment of active service members. It's just appalling. All he did was defend his people and ask for help. You know. Okay, the Theodore Roosevelt, the captain sacking, Brett Crozier. Are there going to be any more repercussions over this? Let's look. Oh, yeah. I've got a lot to cover, so I'm only doing quick little spreads here. Yeah, I bet they are. Right. I suspect there will be more repercussions over this. Now, you have the emperor on top. There are many emperors in this game. It could be Emperor Trump, or it could be a senior player in the Navy with an emperor, but I think it is Trump himself in this context. With the Navy personnel, they have, on the one hand, they are strong in themselves. I think this means they are like a cohesive unit. I don't think the personnel are split on this issue at all. I think they are thinking with one mind on this. But another reading of the strength card is an attempt to tame the more basic instincts. So I think on some level, the emperor doing this sacking was a base level thing. He failed to rein in his basic instinct, is what I'm fumbling to say here. So this is other forms of strength, and I think they're going to show other forms of strength. Under the emperor, under the Yeti, he lives in a permanent state of delusion and illusion. This should not be a surprise to any of us. I mean, he really is head in the clouds and no idea how to handle this situation that we're talking about or the bigger situation. Just no idea. No idea. Three of Pentacles group work about this. I think more people are going to talk about this. This has been happening now for the whole 3 years of the Emperor's reign. that on the one hand, he came in talking about my military and my everything, and then has done nothing but treat people badly who are part of the services. And I think you could even see these three as Army, Navy, Air Force. I think, and you might expect to hear in the next maybe month, where the Pentagon or someone representing all of the services is really going to come out with something crushing and damning. And the reason I think that might happen is here is the world card. So this is going to go bigger, not smaller. So while the most atrocious things get buried every 24 hours in the next news cycle, I think the world has noticed this. I know people in Australia were talking about this. This is people who don't follow the news here, let alone in America. People were really upset and outraged by this and couldn't believe this would happen. So the world has noticed this, and I think that's going to give momentum to finally some sort of ultimatum on the Yeti, or maybe a big class action from the family of the personnel, or something more. We are going to hear more about this story. There are so many stories to follow. How on earth can you keep up? You know, lucky we've got so many really good and committed political tarot readers, because we can only cover so much. So informally, we can divide it up between us. Yeah. So a big shout out there to my fellow readers. I think you're all doing an amazing job. Thank you for being there. Okay, now let's look. We'll see how Rick DeSantis, is holding up, because Florida has been exposed as having deliberately formed a mechanism in government when you apply for unemployment benefits in Florida that you're not going to get them. Awesome. This was before the whole virus thing happened. So it was already in place as just a nasty bit of legislation. They're not alone in this. In Australia, it's the same. You know, it's the unemployment benefit you couldn't live on if you had to rent a property. And there are only 1% of properties that are affordable if you're on disability and so forth. So we have a state housing system. So if you are really marginalised, you are entitled to a free flat from the state, not free flat, heavily subsidised flat from the state. But there's a 12-year waiting list. So don't think you're alone in this. You know, everywhere since the 80s has been winding back, whether it's the UK, winding back council housing, or Australia or anywhere else. But we're just looking now at Florida, and specifically at Rick DeSantis. Let's see how he's travelling, Rick DeSantis. Okay. Oh, could be leaving. Not soon enough, you might say. Oh, he's in for a steep learning curve. Look, with this, the top card, Six of Swords, the figures in the Six of Swords have been through a great deal of anguish and are moving away. This could be people moving away from DeSantis, or it could be DeSantis actually moving away. Page of Wands, he's still talking the talk. This is the card of the speaker to people. He's still saying things like, oh, it's only because people flew in from New York, we're okay. You know, even though he's put in some measures, he's let mega churches and synagogues stay open. So he's done this mealy-mouthed, half-pie, ineffectual response, but that's been his public response. To a certain extent, he's reflected the mood of the majority. So although I'm sure there's, and I know many of you are from Florida and are very sensible and observing your own quarantine measures, this is a Princess of Cups It's about emotion, keeping a lid on the emotion. But I think in conjunction with these other cards, DeSantis is saying almost what people want to hear, not what they need to hear. He's paying a bit more attention now as the numbers go through the roof. He's paying more attention to detail, but I think it's too late. Now, because he's got the card of cutting and running, I can't help but notice his parting card is take with him everything that isn't nailed down. So I think he might pull his pension or cash in some bonds or do something financial as he goes out the door. I think this is going to be the end of DeSantis, maybe not in the next 5 minutes, but in the next election cycle, certainly. Now, the other thing that's being talked about is have Ivanka and Jared and the Yeti himself got their filthy paws and claws into Big Pharma, i.e. the unpronounceable drug that Trump keeps irrationally pushing, you know, the hydrochloroquinine thing that is allegedly for malaria. Apparently it is a component of treatment for people with the virus, but it has, for people who don't know what they're doing, like mums and dads in the Bible Belt saying, we'll just go and swallow a handful of these pills. And they are, because chemists are running out of the pills. That's a really bad sign, really bad sign. And already a couple have died because it causes heart arrhythmia. So for people who are already unhealthy or taking it in quantities they know nothing about, it is a really dangerous drug. So the question now is, does Trump org, or the individual components of this hideous crime family, have they got their greedy paws on some aspect of Big Pharma in this whole conversation? Do the Trumps stand to benefit from their pharmacological stock? Do the Trumps stand to benefit from this? Do they stand to benefit? The fact that it killed every second person who took it wouldn't worry them at all. Oh dear, oh dear. What can you say about these people? I mean, truly, I can't quite believe it sometimes. Okay, the High Priestess, a blessed and elevated card in other circumstances, suffice to say, not here. When talking about these people, it has its lower meaning, which is hidden agendas. This is the judgment. They could be judged on this very harshly, or it could have been their judgment to say, oh, well, someone's got to make money out of a crisis. It might as well be us. And why I think it might be their judgment in this case, even though this is normally my America wake up card, I think it's just speaking to them as a family. And I think they leapt on it. I think they didn't have much in the way of pharmaceutical stocks, but I think they went and got them. And the reason I think that is because there they are celebrating, whoop-de-doo, right? The Apprentice card, the universe's little joke when talking about the Yeti. This is the Apprentice. We just had it a moment ago for DeSantis. So this is also working on the detail, and I suspect that's working on the detail of hiding their stocks. I'm sorry, I'll turn this off. Sorry. I thought it was off. So I think this is them working extremely diligently into the night, hiding the fact. In fact, there's 3 women here. I think the men in the Trump family have hidden their stocks behind the wives, you know, the classic rich person's diversion. I think the women are holding the stocks. That's what that's about. And the 5 of Swords, ruthlessness incarnate, stopping at nothing, not caring about anything, winning at any cost, and other people being so appalled who were with them in the first place now walking away. So if you ask me, I would have to say yes. The Trumps traditionally have not been big players in the stock exchange because they've been bricks and mortar, well, bricks and mortar and fairy floss in terms of their real estate empire. But this rumour has been circulating, and I think there's a bit of mustard to the rumour, I have to say. Now, let's just have a look first. I want to have a quick look at Andrew Cuomo just to see how he's holding up personally, and then we'll move on to how the base is seeing this. Okay, Cuomo first. And I think it was a conversation I was having recently with Dave from Moonlight, which reminds me, everyone, there's a sale on of the t-shirts at Redbubble, so I'll put the link up. It's if you want to get one of our Yeti shirts, it's like all the names for Trump, the Lion King and all of that, or the Truthless Tiger shirt, which is my personal favourite. They're reduced at the moment, so the prices are a bit more manageable. But I was talking to Dave and he was saying, like, he's looking so presidential in all this. You know, Cuomo's looking like the president. Okay, so Andrew Cuomo doing everything he humanly can. What's happening for Cuomo? Let's broaden it out. Cuomo and New York. Cuomo and New York. Oh. Right. Knight of Cups. He's holding it together. King of Wands, bless him. Being ripped off by the federal government. Making that. Okay, this sums it up, really. The Knight of Cups. He is of immense comfort, bringing emotional comfort to the people of New York who are up against the most massive challenge with what's going on. And he continues to ride in every day, offering some degree of emotional support, even when he delivers the worst news, when they can't get hold of things, which is talked about here in these other cards. He is up front with them and he's fulfilling that role. And even more than that, he is acting as the King of Wands. He is acting above even his governorship. He's really providing key leadership, and I'm sure he's supporting all the departments under him. Possibly, I digress here, he wasn't the easiest guy in the world to get along with. He didn't have a warm and fuzzy reputation before this, and he's not warm and fuzzy now, but he's certainly stepped up to this role, and I crown him King of Wands in this reading. He speaks the truth, even though he's dealing with rip-off artists. He keeps speaking the truth. And, forgive the swearing, but there's no way around it, the cutting through the bullshit card, right? That's him. He's cutting through. What's across him is the shocking and depraved lack of support from the federal government and their actual theft of things that are needed for a city in crisis. Now, then the Three of Wands, he's seeking out over the water. I'm sure he's dealing with anyone who's got PPE equipment, you know, personal protection equipment. He is stopping at nothing. He's even made international pleas for equipment because he can't rely on the United States of America and its president to help in any way whatsoever. So I'm just going to draw another card or two on New York itself. New York. Oops. Oh, sorry. Oh, what fell out? We're going to stop there with this for New York. The star leapt out of the pack. Oh, gorgeous. New York will rise again. Now, let's have a look at the cult and how it's getting on. You know, looking to their glorious leader, Vlad the Inhaler. I heard someone call him recently. I love that. I might move from the Yeti to Vlad the Inhaler. Yeah. Oh, did you see? Trump's offering his doctors, you know, these are one step away from Michael Jackson's doctors, you know, like they're barely, you know, I don't know how they're still registered in the medical profession, but he's offered their expertise to Boris Johnson. I'll have a quick look at Boris before I even move on to the base. Let's have a look at Boris. Oh, Boris. Look, it's not easy. We have to inhabit our higher selves with this stuff. You don't want anyone to actually suffer with this thing in any great way, you know, like even though I thought he was a complete turkey, it's still very disruptive for the country that is handling it almost as badly as America. So the UK and the US are leading the first world in handling things badly. But let's see how it is for Boris, otherwise known as Yeti too. Boris. It's touch and go. Oh God. Oh, he gets a star at the end. So probably right. Look, this is what I meant by touch and go. He is not well. He is seriously not well. He is a very ill man. He's in the wars. He's in the grip of this disease as we sit here. He then gets the devil card, and I won't dwell on it, but obviously it's not marvellous when you have the Five of Swords, the Eight of Swords, and the devil card. But then to save him is the Star card. So this could mean, if he survives this, he could come out a changed man. Unlike Vlad the Inhaler, Boris Johnson actually has a huge brain, almost too big for his hair. He's the opposite of Trump and yet the same in some way. There's even less excuse for people who have a brain to come up with the ideas that they come up with. He could come out a different person and lead the nation quite differently if he survives this. I think that's quite a luminous card on quite a dark layout. He is not out of the woods yet, but this is the promise. Okay. There you go, Boris. Look, I hope you make it. I really do. Not for the usual reasons, but we've got to be generous in these times, and we've got to try and be as pure of heart as we can. She says, about to do a very jaundiced reading on the cult. Cult 45. Where are the heads at? Let's look at where are the heads at? 12:45. Where are the heads? Where are the heads? Are they moving? Oh, ouch. Look, this is quite positive. I'll do another one. This is, yeah, wow, wow, wow. Okay, Ace of Cups, they've now started to get emotionally invested in this in a way they weren't before. They were just poo-pooing the whole idea of the virus, or it was a media hoax, or it was a democratic plot, or it was this, it was that. They're finally beginning to get emotionally engaged. Oh, gulp, this might affect us. What do they get then? They get the Tower, a sudden reckoning, a radical bolt of lightning from the sky. They then get the Queen of Wands. This could be a Republican woman, maybe the vile Nikki Haley or someone. It could be someone medical in one of the states who comes to the fore. It's a mature woman who manages to penetrate the Neanderthal headspace and get through to them emotionally, right? And it drags them kicking and screaming into the world and the reality of the world. They get the Tower, which is a cataclysmic shock, and the world is the end of one whole cycle and the beginning of a new one. Now they get the Judgment card. This is quite hard to read when you're reading for the evangelicals, because part of their delusion is they already have this idea of the plague coming and the apocalypse, and they were secretly, I'm sure, snickering that, oh, it's only evil people who are going to get it and so forth. So this fitted their narrative. They've had this narrative, you know, forever, that there's going to be a plague, there's going to be a dreadful apocalypse, and they will be swept up into the arms of Jesus, leaving only the sinners left behind, littering the highways of America and beyond. So this is challenging that in a big way. I think as this plays out, you're going to see a schism in the fundamentalists. There'll be those who'll double down, triple down, and keep to that view and be reinforced in that view by what they see. And there'll be others who will see it is time to wake up. And being a science denier is not a way forward, particularly if you've got children. We are in a new millennium. I hate to break the news, but Little House on the Prairie isn't going to cut it. They have to engage with the real world. So I think they're coming to a real watershed, a road to Damascus moment that they're not expecting. Well, okay, everyone, I had to get back and see you all because I miss you when I'm not on. I miss you because I feel, you know, we're so connected through the shared horror and hideousness. But thanks for the comments and keep them going. And please know that you're such a support to me and to each other by keeping our online community going. It's a beautiful thing. So if you want a reading, get in touch. Otherwise, I'll see you next time and I'll be reading your comments between now and then. So you guys take care. Mwah. Ciao.